Hello and welcome. We're here today to talk about using ChatGPT to support lesson planning, and this is topic 1 in a larger workshop. We'll be talking about using the chatbot as your new thought partner. My name is Hannah Carnahan, and I am an expert in math and technology and education, working with Canyon Professional Development. I'm a national board certified teacher, and I graduated last year from GCU with a master's in curriculum and instruction. I've spent the last 16 years in education, and my current role is as a technology integration facilitator. I absolutely love using technology to improve the instruction in my classroom and in the classrooms of teachers that I work with. I like to start my sessions with a quote, and for today I chose this quote from Matt Miller, who's best known as the author of Ditch That Textbook. He also has a new book out about AI and ChatGPT called AI for Educators, and this quote comes from that book. He says, "For our students' sake, to prepare them for the future, we can't look at the world through today glasses. We must use our tomorrow glasses." And he reminds us that the world is changing and we need to change with it if we want to do right by our students. Our two main objectives for today: 1, gain an understanding of what ChatGPT is, what it can do, and its limitations. And 2nd, begin to learn how to use ChatGPT as a thought partner when creating lesson plans. In your STG course materials, you will see a couple of handouts from me, one of them being the slides for this presentation. So if you see things that you want to look at in more detail, you can of course pause this recording or you can access the slides. I also have a handout for you with a KWL chart, which is where you say what you know, what you want to know, and what you learned about a topic. So I have that set up for you to record your learning throughout this session. There's also a place for you to record a link to your conversation with the chatbot so that if you are looking through your notes later, you'll have easy access to the practice that you did here today. Now, ChatGPT, what is it? Well, first of all, it is always changing. So it was released in November of 2022 to the general public and is currently available for free for users to play around with it and use its capabilities. Now, there's also a paid version, and the free version is actually ChatGPT 3. I believe we're on ChatGPT 3.5, and you can pay for ChatGPT 4, which is more advanced and is being used by a lot of programmers for a lot of other uses. But we're really just going to be talking about the basics and about what the chatbot can do. I just want you to know that these capabilities and its uses will improve over time. So when you go to the website where ChatGPT is, and I will direct you there in just a couple of minutes, you are going to see a couple of important things. You are going to see a screen like this. I have my computer on dark mode, so you may see this reverse with a lighter background and a darker text. But down at the bottom, there is a little reminder that this is a free research preview and a warning that it may produce inaccurate information about people, places, or facts. It also tells you the current version that you're looking at, and they do update this regularly. When you log into ChatGPT, one of the pop-ups that you may see reminds you that it is a free research preview. And this is a good reminder because we're using it for free because we're kind of free labor for OpenAI, who's the company who runs ChatGPT. So they're letting us use their product for free because we're actually working for them. They also have a reminder about their safeguards and that they can't guarantee correct information. They remind us how they are collecting data and that we shouldn't share any sensitive information in the conversations, which is very important because you never know where that information may resurface. And this is just a good rule of thumb for the internet in general. Be careful with what you put out there, because once it's out there, it's really hard to get it back. It's really hard to delete its footprint forever. And there's a reminder that they would love your feedback as they are improving their product. So I asked the chatbot what its capabilities are, and it gave me a little list here. And if I were to ask the same question again, it would give me a slightly different answer, because it's not pulling from a database of I say this when you ask this. It's actually generating new responses every single time we ask it something. But this is what it came up with when I said, what can you do? And you can see at the top there my question, and then you can see its response. And one thing that I really like is that the bot likes to give its ideas in a list. And I can ask it to give me 5 things or 10 things or whatever, or it just gives me as many as it feels like doing at that time. And then it also offers a little summary at the bottom of those lists. So just some things that it can do. It can give us advice, give us lists of ideas, summarize articles. It can write emails for us. It can proofread text if we just copy and paste it in. It can rewrite text at different levels. Again, if I copy and paste some text in and I say, can you rewrite this at a 4th grade level or at a collegiate level? It's able to do that. It can translate into many languages. It can create recipes and much, much, much more. And it's important to know that ChatGPT is not a Google search. It is not pulling this information directly from the internet. It is a large language model which has been trained on a bunch of text data. So books, articles, blogs, lots of things that it did originally pull from the internet, 2021 and prior. It's not currently up to date. It's not connected to the current internet, but it pulls from all of this data that it was trained on, as well as the conversations that it's having with people who are training it currently, and it generates its best response. It's kind of like when you are texting and your phone predicts which word you're going to say next. It's predicting what it should be saying. And sometimes the phone is right. It gives us a couple of choices. You're like, yeah, that is the word that I wanted to say next. And ChatGPT is like a much fancier, more involved model of that. It's predictive text. So I asked the bot what its capabilities are. It gave me all of this information, and it's kind of a lot here. And I know as a professional development facilitator, it is not ideal to have a ton of text on your screen, and definitely not to constantly be reading the text to your screen. But I do have a lot of screenshots in this course for you to be able to read as much as you want, come back to later. I will not be reading all of the text on these. Feel free to pause as needed, and just know you have access to the slides as part of your handouts. So something else I want to mention about ChatGPT before we move forward is that it is making quite a splash all around the world in many different areas, and lots of employers are looking for workers who can use the chatbot, who have experience with it, know how it works, and will be able to utilize it in their jobs. And this is not just in education, but in many different fields. And I really believe that this is the way that the world is going. So good for you for learning a little bit more about it and making yourself have a little more employability as far as those kinds of skills go. Now, full disclosure, I used ChatGPT extensively as I was planning this class, but I came up with my topics and the ideas of how to use the bot. Those are my own personal ideas. And then I went to the chatbot to see what it had to say about those things. Now, I could have asked the bot for the ideas in the first place and then just went with it. And I could have had it do even more of the work for me, but it still would be running off of my own personal ideas. And I think that that's something that we really need to practice with to understand, because as our students start to use this program, it's going to be important to distinguish between the work of the student and the work of the chatbot. I also want to talk about prompt engineering. Better prompts yield better responses. So this is something that we will mention more than once and something that you will learn as you practice with the tool. The better question that you write for the bot, the better response you're going to get. And I did go ahead and ask what are some tips for creating great responses in ChatGPT, and it gave me a lot to work with here. So I asked the bot to summarize that for me. And here we have a much shorter, easier to use list. And I really think that the best tip is to practice, because as you use the tool, you're going to understand better how it works. And like anything else, the more we practice, the better we get. But from the bot itself being clear and concise, provide context, say who your audience is, don't be ambiguous. You can have typos and still get good responses, but you're more likely to get better responses if you're using proper grammar and spelling, because the bot won't just be guessing as to what you're trying to ask it. It's going to be able to take you literally. And the fifth one is very important here. Don't expect perfection. The bot does make mistakes. It does make things up. There are things that it will say that are absolutely not truthful at all. And we really do need to do some fact checking on the information that it gives us. Now, some people might say, wait, you're saying this thing could give me false information. What good is it then? And I like to remind them, welcome to the internet. The internet is full of misinformation, and you can't just believe everything that you read there either. So I think it's unrealistic to expect that this chatbot, which was trained on text data from the internet, could possibly be 100% accurate. So just like with anything else that you would find on the internet or anything else that you would hear from someone or see on the news, you really do need to fact check it before you use that information in your own work. So that's a little bit about what ChatGPT is and what it can do, and the kind of practice that we want to do with our prompt engineering. So your next step is to create an account. You're going to go to chat.openai.com, create your account, and then come back here for your next steps. Now that you've created your account, your first assignment is to use ChatGPT to do the following 3 things. We are going to start with some non-academic tasks, the same way I would start with non-academic tasks with the students in my classroom as they're learning a new tool. So we're going to start by having it make a recipe using ingredients that are in your kitchen. Maybe this is something you'll even end up using. I want you to ask for advice about fixing something in your life that's broken. And I want you to have it write a song about your job, so you're going to have to feed it some information, or a script for an episode of your favorite TV show about something that happened at work recently. So you have a choice on this last one, but I want you to see that the bot can do things that are seemingly very creative and things that could be very time-consuming for us to do as humans, and it can generate them very, very quickly. Now, keep in mind the data is only good through 2021, so pick a show that's been out for more than a year or two, because it won't be able to pull from very recent scripts. When you're finished, please come back and continue the presentation. You can pause now. I hope that you had fun playing around with the chatbot and seeing what some of its capabilities are. The first time that you use this thing, Most people are very impressed with its capabilities. This is so much more advanced than any of the chatbots that we have used before. So I want to talk about thinking about ChatGPT as a thought partner and some really great things that we can do with it. So wouldn't it be great if you could bounce ideas off of someone that you couldn't offend? Or if you could ask someone for help at a time when you didn't want to bother any of your coworkers? Well, ChatGPT is a great thought partner. Whether your PLC consists of a small group of educators or it's just you, adding ChatGPT as an additional idea generator could prove to be time-saving and innovative to your team's work. You can ask it many of the same questions that you might ask your colleagues, and you can choose to use its responses, tweak them, or ignore them completely without anyone getting offended. So these are 4 things that I came up with on my own as to why I thought ChatGPT was a great thought partner. If I wanted to talk about something work-related at 11 o'clock at night, I'm probably not going to want to call my colleagues because I don't want to wake them up and I don't want them to be angry with me. But if I had something I really wanted to delve into late at night, I could log in and have a conversation with the chatbot and start to bounce ideas off of. So that's why I like to say always available. Now, I went and asked that same question to ChatGPT, and this is what it came up with. And it actually came up with a lot of similar things to what I had come up with on my own, including that it's available 24/7. Now, again, this is a lot of text, so I asked, can you make this more succinct? And here we go. Here is that all summarized in one sentence. I really appreciate that I can use this bot to generate ideas, and that if it's too much, I can have it shorten it down for me so that I can easily share that information. So now we're going to practice using our chatbot to do a few more tasks, but this time related to your classroom. The first thing I want you to do is have the chatbot come up with a new warm-up or exit ticket idea. And you may need to adapt to this to your own classroom situation. Maybe you don't use warm-ups or exit tickets, but some sort of activity that you would be doing with your students regularly, and you just want to mix it up. So coming up with a new activity that you could use in your classroom. Next, something that is hopefully going to be helpful, realistic, timely. Brainstorm a solution to a problem that your team or PLC is currently facing. And this could be anything. Just be careful not to include too much personal information in there. You can even put in names, but do first names and no last names. Definitely be careful about putting in student names, though. And third, I want you to describe a lesson that didn't go well to the chatbot and ask it to help you improve it for next time. So here you're using the chatbot as a thought partner who is going to help you improve a lesson for next time, just the same way that you might if you were talking about it with a colleague. But the chatbot might have a different, new and fresh perspective, and if you don't like what it has to say, you could have it generate a new response, or you don't have to take its advice and you don't have to worry about offending it. So go ahead and pause this video, complete these activities, and come back when you're finished. As we close, I want to come back to this quote from Matt Miller, just as a reflection piece for our students' sake, to prepare them for the future. We can't look at the world through today glasses. We must use our tomorrow glasses. I hope that I've helped spark some ideas. The chatbot has helped spark some ideas today, and I would love for you to take a few minutes for reflection. You're going to find these questions are also on that KWL handout that I mentioned earlier. It's available in the STG course materials, and it would be really beneficial for you and your long-term learning if you take the time to answer these questions before you log out today. So what are your biggest takeaways? What are your next steps? And who are you going to share this information with? We like to end our Canyon PD telling you about our why. We want to tell you why we exist. We want to empower, educate, and inspire you so you can take action to fulfill your purpose and serve others. We cannot do this without you. Generative AI is going to change the world as we know it, and I hope what you learned here today will help you begin to change with it and bring those around you along for the ride. Thank you so much for attending. I hope to see you in another Canyon PD soon.